All right, I think I'm ready to make the third build video here. I have got a lot of it just laid in place where I think it should go. As far as bracing these side, I have decided to cut, let's see, some paneling like this. It's gonna go about in the middle and attach here, so we will have an H brace shape that'll rigidify this section at the front, something like that, and that'll be on all four, and then the bottoms as well. I've got those cut. I don't have them attached yet, but you can kind of see where they'll go and support the middle section of these side panels. Kind of playing with some ideas of what I think I need to do to brace the very back of the enclosure. So I've got to realize that I'm going to have to put a back on this enclosure, and I've got to brace that as well. So what I think I'm going to do is triangulate 4 pieces that divide the enclosure into thirds, right? So a third all the way up, and then a third over, and then from a third over to a third up, and then do that in all 4 corners. So that's mostly to brace this end of this wall roughly a third of the way, and then the top as well. We're gonna get bracing up there out of I cut these at 45-degree angles, so if I put one in every corner, we get some structural integrity there, and then the back will go on and be butted directly up against, so there'll be a little bit, but that's probably not enough. That leaves the back panel has this entire open area that needs braced, and what I think I might do is take a piece of plywood and go from the middle of this brace all the way across to the top of this brace, add an X shape, and then do the same thing on the other side, and that will fill in this whole area so that this back panel that goes on here will be properly braced and supported, and it's relatively easy to do that. There will be a little bit of a space in here that might need braced, and so we might take a piece of plywood, a piece of paneling, and go from the edge over to the middle where the X meets in the middle, and just cut like 2 little 45s to make a sharp point that'll sit. Haven't made any of that yet, but I think that's what I'm gonna do. That should rigidify sufficiently the back panel, the sides, and I'm not sure if I would also need to come from the top down, make a big star. I don't know, I'm just playing with ideas. I was doing everything very square, and I don't know if I'm getting bored or just trying to do different things, but wanting to brace at 45-degree angles, I don't know, made a lot of sense to me, because I need structural support, roughly a third of the way up this enclosure. I don't need any below that because the corner builds a lot of rigidity. And how do you kill 2 birds with 1 stone? If it's at a 45-degree angle, then and glued properly, then there's a lot of strength there, there's a lot of strength there, and that is a third of the way, because my intentions here is to divide this panel into thirds with bracing. A third of the way up brace, a third of the way down braced, and I think that that's going to be sufficient, roughly sufficient. Usually once I get these mocked up, built, I do like a tap test, and you can kind of hear what's really tight and what's got some resonance to it, and that kind of indicates whether I need to brace more or do I have it sufficiently done. But this gives you kind of a visualization of the way the port's going to be laid out from the back, obviously, and how the bracing will go. I'm really tempted to pull all of this out and screw it all together, or even glue. I'd like to think that I could glue this panel to the bottom, and then I can glue everything up in here nice and square, nice and tight, and have all that glued. The top will go on, and then the side will go on, and then the back will go on at the very end. And so I can put a lot of this together, just lay it down in the floor of the shop or the garage, and make a lot of progress that way. It's shoot, we're 30 or 40% of the way there. This much of it came together fairly quickly. I think I have enough wood. I'm not necessarily inclined to use a full sheet for the top and back, but if I have it, I guess I'll use it. I'm not afraid to glue a couple of pieces together to make a full back. And then, whether I have a piece that kind of goes in the middle to make sure the joints are sealed, all of that's kind of just going to happen on the fly. There's a chance I'll just use full sheets. Full sheets are harder to work with, but they're nice and clean. So we'll see. But yeah, here's more visualization of the build process. In hindsight, having braced the way that I have, I'm not convinced that these little guys are even remotely necessary. There's plenty of rigidity. It should be easy enough. I might remove those entirely and then build them without. I'm not convinced I need those at this point. I thought it was a good idea, but now looking at it, I'm just not even convinced it's necessary. I've had some thoughts regarding this H-bracing concept. If I ever get anyone to watch this, if any of you are sort of skeptical that that's going to work because there's nothing below or above, you can brace paneling without. So if I were to just take something like this and attach that right here with nothing else but properly glued, this does not flex. This panel would bow in and out this way, but in this vertical direction, it's very rigid, right? Being like long and skinny, it has a lot of rigidity, and all I would have to do is glue that to the bottom here, and the bottom becomes much more rigid. Just sort of the nature of that. And so when I talk about putting an H in here without bracing above or below, just having that alone without a top piece rigidifies this whole section of this panel here. And I'm not here or capable of explaining the engineering or the science behind that, but it's sort of a reality, right? So the fact that it is H-shaped means that it's more rigid than just having that panel alone, but having this brace alone with nothing else around it does rigidify this piece here substantially. I guess with this design there is a flaw that I'm looking at needing to work around, and it's this middle section right here. For a long distance doesn't have any bracing on the bottom or the top. I'm likely to need to add something in here. I might add a piece right here that goes the length of the enclosure from the bottom, glues to this, and goes all the way to the top. I don't think that that's going to change the port tuning any, but that would give me top and bottom bracing where there definitely seems to be lacking some. So I guess that's one additional piece that I'm contemplating doing something of that nature. I guess we'll see when we get there. There's a chance I might leave that whole open space open and just have the confidence that this enclosure will be sufficiently rigid. I'd like to think it will, but I guess time will tell. So yeah, talked your ear off a little bit. I think we've got it covered. On to the next video.